Hello everybody and welcome to today's MTPredictor trading webinar. While I just read the risk disclaimer, if you could all let me know whether you can hear me okay and whether you can see the risk disclaimer there by going to the left hand side of your chart. There's a Q&A box. If you just type into the Q&A box that you could hear me okay. Right, just remind everyone that all examples in this training room should be considered as hypothetical. No trades are actually taken. They're just shown for illustration and training purposes only. Remind you there's a risk of loss in trading and investing. Put another way, all professional traders know and understand, but more importantly, accept that losses can and will and do unfold. It doesn't matter what trading approach you take, there always will be losing trades. Right. So we should have, excuse me, should have an interesting webinar today because I'd like to start by having a quick glimpse at our new scripts for TradingView. These haven't been released yet, but it's you know, we're getting close to that now, so I just want to show you those. I also want to go on to later in the webinar having a look at some questions that a few of you guys have been sending in, particularly on the GBP JPY, and also there was one on crude oil as well, and an Elliott wave question. So a few things to look at in today's webinar. Right, let's have a quick look at our new scripts for TradingView. So for you guys who are using TradingView, you'll know at the moment that the way the scripts work is you have to reload the parameters to basically place the analysis or DPs on, which obviously is it's a bit hard work. Whereas what we've been able to do now is we've been able to, well, I'll show you. So let's have a look at the decision point first. So I'm just going to take that one off. And what we can do now is if I show the parameters, we have a lot less boxes in here. Whereas when you first open the any of the scripts, we have a pivot time in here. Now, this is a bit unfortunate that we have to put this in manually. It's just one of the things that TradingView hopefully will improve over time. But as long as you actually put this on the chart somewhere to just today, so we have to hard code this in the background, and it just means that when you first put it on, you just click it on somewhere for today. Now, what this does now is it places a little label on the chart and put a place of the DP. So it basically calculates from where the label is, or the pivot closest to where the label is. So can you see where my cursor is here? Do you see this little box there? And you see when I place my cursor over the box, it goes to left and right arrows. So what I can do now is I can click on that and I can drag it to wherever I want. So if I drag it to there and let go of the mouse, do you see what it's done? It's recalculated the DP from that pivot. If I grab it, take it up to that pivot high, let go of the mouse, do you see what it does? It just recalculates the DP. So it makes it really easy to be able to select which pivot you want to place the DP off. Say you want to place it off that point there. There's the DP calculated for you. So it's just going to be so easy to place DPs on the chart and actually just select the pivot that you wish to take the DP off. If you want to add a second DP on the chart, what you can do is if you click on these ones here, you can do copy, you can then right mouse click and then do paste, and it can then place a second DP on the chart. So you can have a second script. So again, I'll just place that on the chart again and maybe on the same bar. So if you just drag it to another pivot, there it is there. So you can see you can have two DPs on the chart just by having two instances of the script. But as you see, it is quite easy to move them. So if you just select the DP, there's the little cursor, or the moving line moves up there, and you can just go and place it, whatever pivot you want, and then it will recalculate for you. So that makes things a lot easier, doesn't it? A lot easier. I'm just going to take that one off. In fact, what I tend to do, or what we'll tend to do now, is what we suggest is you can leave these on the chart, and rather than enable them and disable them, you just hide them. So let's just hide that one there, and it's out of the way. Let's just hide that one there, it's out of the way. So the same kind of thing is for the analysis on the trade setups. You can see here we had a VS sell a bit earlier here. So if I go to the analysis, I click on this, we then have, again, a lot less things to put in the chart here. And at the moment, we've got all our setups. You can see them here, all in the same script. So we don't have an advanced setups and normal trade setups, which could confuse matters because you could have get two setups on the same chart. It basically means that you only have just one script with all the different setups in there. So you'll only ever have one on a chart. We've also got all our risk, reward, and swings in this same script as well, but I don't quite know whether we're going to keep them in there or split those out. I'm just working on that at the moment. So as per normal, we can just make sure we're on somewhere around today, and then just click the Analyze Trade Setup and do OK. Now what will happen is you can see the little eye there. It was rotating for a bit while it's recalculating. So it just places it on the chart somewhere. So say if we want to analyze this setup, we then have to click on it. You can see where's the little arrow there. Sometimes it's hard to see. Trying to get the arrow to get that to move. There it is. Oh, there. So I'm just going to move that to that bar there, which is what we want, and it will recalculate. You see the little eye up there? It's just recalculating, and there it is. It's now placed it on the chart for you. So it's really quite easy indeed. So just make selecting the bar you want to place the analysis of a case of just grabbing it and dragging it over to the correctly colored reversal bar, and then just leaving it there, and then it will then just recalculate. You see there we had a nice short trade off that VS sell setup there. So it makes it quite easy indeed as well. Same kind of things with our Elliott waves. I'm just going to go back into there and just turn the analyze off. Again, it's recalculating, and it'll just take that off in a second. Just while it recalculates, and there it's taken it off. Just going to put the Elliott wave tool on again. So it's going to do, these won't be the names here later. This is slightly different because you see here it's actually asked you to select the pivot time. And this is the first time the script's added on. So I'm just going to take that off, and I'm just going to click anywhere on the chart. And what it'll do is then place the Elliott wave count on where that click is. But as before, you can just move it around. You see there's the little box you grab. So if we go back up to here, I'll just let it go there. It will recalculate to there, and you can see it's found a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I grab it from here, that's over to there. It's found any second. It's found an ABC. So to place an Elliott wave counts on the chart or to analyze pivots, it's just really a case of just grabbing and dragging. It really is. Let's go back down to, say, the bottom there and see what it finds at the bottom there. Now this is a, I did this deliberately because what I wanted to do here is show what happens with our Elliott wave counts. Is that we basically work in isolation. So we work off the pivot we've taken the selection from. So what that means is when you're doing an Elliott wave count, and this is a question from Colin down there in Australia. So I'm guessing it's quite late over there. So you'll probably be watching the recording the next day. So Colin, when you place an Elliott wave count on a chart, you have to make sure that the start of the sequence. So do you see this 1, 2, 3, 4 down here? The start of the sequence is at a logical main pivot high or low. If it's not, then you don't use the Elliott wave count. So this one isn't really at the pivot high here, so you wouldn't use this one. Compare it how different it is if I come to this pivot. Again, you see how easy it is to just to move it. It really is quite slick. No selecting parameters, etc., etc. But Colin, do you see what the difference is here? It's found the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's found this from a good starting point. In other words, the starting point of your Elliott wave sequence, so if I just leave the mouse hovered over that point there, is actually at a significant low. So do you see that? It's at a main significant low there. So that's what you want to do, is only work with a valid Elliott wave count when the sequence starts at a major pivot high or low. So that's very important. That's why if you're doing it off any old pivot, the Elliott wave counts could change and they'd basically be nonsensical. They wouldn't make any sense at all. So you only work with this when you're basically looking at the start of the sequence at a major pivot high or low. We also have our WPTs on here. I'm not going to demonstrate them now, but again, it's the same kind of principle, is that when you're trying to select the bars, if any of you have used these already in your current version, you'll know it's really hard to try and choose the pivot by doing the parameters in the, or the bars in the parameters. But again, you just use the bars to select the pivots to use. But let's just do a bit more, say, of advanced analysis here, because we know that at the end of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 5-wave sequence, normally what happens is the market goes to the DP from the prior wave 4, doesn't it? So that's where our DP was there from the prior wave 4, wasn't it? If it goes through that, it then retraces the entire prior 5-wave sequence, doesn't it? So what that does now then is, if I select this and I go back to place a DP off the start of the sequence, which is here, again, you see how easy this is to move these DPs around. It's brilliant. So if it goes beyond this DP, it then probably going to go down to this DP here. And you can see we've just reached it literally in live market trading now. So say you wanted to analyze this and find out where your risk reward is. Well, we have a new tool now that is very similar to the risk reward we had before, but obviously before it's really difficult to try and do it. But now we've got this grab and dragging, it's so much easier. So what I can do now is if I put this risk reward tool on, where are we? Where's my risk reward one? Lost it. Risk reward, that's the one I'm looking for there. Again, here we have to select the entry times. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to click on the chart just to get it on the chart first. So I'm just going to, the entry bar, I'm just going to put it anywhere there. Stop loss bar, again, you have to do another click. I'm going to put it at the top there and then select the entry price. I'm just going to click here anywhere. I'm going to go back into the risk reward because we want to do a short trade because it defaults to long to short to start with. So I just want to say it needs to be a short trade here. So I'm going to do a short trade. You can manually change these levels, times and levels as well if you wish. But now we've got it on the chart, what I can do is, it's a bit confusing with the Elliott wave count into there. So I'm just going to hide that Elliott wave count just for a second. And I'm going to say, right, we want to have the stop above there. The entry is on that bar, isn't it? So the entry. Hang on, sorry about that. It's now just recalculating. That's the entry there. So the entry is going to be on that bar. And now what you can do with the target level is you can now grab and drag it. You see what I've done that? I've grabbed it and I'm dragging it down to here. And now it recalculates the risk reward at that target level. So just going to do that again. I'm going to grab it. I'm going to drag it up to there. You can't see it recalculating because this is the problem with TradingView, is it recalculates the scripts in the background. In other words, it waits till the final click has happened. In other words, you let go of the mouse before it does the recalculation. But it just means it's so much easier. So do you see what I've done there? I've grabbed it there. I've dragged it down to where that DP level is, let go, and it's now recalculated. So it just means it's a lot easier for you guys who are using TradingView to basically grab and drag things and actually move them around. These are some of the improvements that TradingView has made in their version 5 of their Pine scripts. I'm just hoping as time goes on that things will get better and better, and they'll be able to make more new improvements as time goes on. But for you guys who are using TradingView, hopefully this will make it so much easier for you guys to use. The one I like is particularly the DPs. I particularly like the way these DPs now, you can just grab and drag them and just move them around like this. Just makes it so easy just to move the DPs around. And then, you know, if you want to just hide one, you just hide it, and it's just quite easy and nice to use. So hopefully you guys will like that. We still have some a bit more work to do at the moment. Just going to turn that risk reward off there. A bit more work to do at the moment, because one thing we're adding in at the moment is when you place the analysis on here, if I go back and just place the standard analysis on, remember we had the analysis back at that original trade setup. It's just recalculating. It takes a bit of time to recalculate. Place the original analysis on, you just have a level at which the target price is. But what we're doing is actually adding in our target levels, our WP level, DP and WPT levels into the target price. So what it will do is when it places the analysis on, you'll get your zones on the chart as well. So I haven't got that version from the programmer. He just sent over a couple of screenshots yesterday, and that's what he's working on at the moment. So again, it will be so much easier, particularly say if you're looking at a wave, a TS3, that you want to then do the manual analysis to the typical wave 3 WPT. It'll be very easy to do because you'll know where that wave 3 WPT is, and then you'll be able to use the manual risk reward to place the analysis on, grab and drag the target price to get to that level as well. So there'll be a lot more you can do that's going to make it a lot easier and a lot smarter. For all you guys who are using the TradingView version at the moment, this will be a free upgrade because all of you are using it. It's on a monthly subscription. So because you're paying monthly, you'll always get the latest versions. And once we've actually finished all the kind of stuff we want to do here in-house, there's a few other little things we've got to try and work out on the publishing side. And when we're happy with the new versions, I'll let everyone know about upgrading. But it'll just be a case of you just remove the old scripts off your old chart, and when they come in, you'll just add them the new ones on, and it should be as easy as that. So for you guys who are using TradingView, what do you think of the new additions? Hopefully they are a vast improvement on what we had before, and hopefully you'll enjoy using them. Right. So that's a nice little trade there, wasn't it? So that's a good example of a bit more how you can take MTPredictor to higher levels, in where you had a 5-wave sequence. We had a trade set up there. You know that rather than going to the first target, i.e. the DP off the prior wave 4 there, you know that if that's exceeded, then it goes to the DP off the prior entire sequence, which is obviously right the way down off this level here. So a good bit of advanced analysis there to allow you to then hopefully run your trades a bit further and be able to have larger profits. But that's a nice little one where you have a 5-wave sequence, which is what whoops, I don't want to do the risk reward there. Sorry about that. I'll do the Elliott wave, where you have a 5-wave sequence going into the high there. Right, so that's all I wanted to show on the new TradingView scripts. So that's quite exciting on that. So let's actually come over to have a look at the British pound JPY. This time I'm going to have a look on our standalone version. And we had a question on whether this TS3, W3 or Wave 3 trade setup was a valid trade setup on the 1-hourly chart, particularly as it was against a blue MTP trend color. For you guys who are new to MTPredictor, we have automatic setups on our charts, but we don't look to take these just blind, because we know and understand that that markets are random about half the time. And this is the thing that I think most people struggle with, and it's why so many systems fail and get into such trouble, is because no matter what system you're using, you'll have a period when it works fine, then it'll suddenly have a period when it doesn't work. Then it will come back and have a period when it works fine. And this tends to confuse most people, you know, needlessly say. I mean, it's all expected, I should say. And most people get very confused with this. But if you understand that markets are random half the time, in other words, half the time you can't get any kind of clear trade setup, then you understand that you should only be trading when the picture's clear. So in MTPredictor, what we do is we go to a higher time frame chart. So on a 1 hourly chart, you'd go out to the 4 hourly. And what we do is we place DPs off prior swing highs or lows. We teach exactly which ones to use in prior webinar, but if the market is going with you, you'd use a pivot that's going in the same direction. Obviously, the market's gone beyond all those, or you'd use the last swing to the last high or low. Now, there's a fairly significant low there, so you take a DP off this level. So take a DP off here. Now, this is an example of using our maximum DP level, which is more for you, more experienced users, because normally we only have our typical DP level, which is the light blue one. So normally what we say is if we're beyond that one, the market will carry on. But about 6 months ago, we added in a maximum DP level. Now, this is an area where if the market goes beyond the typical, this is an area where the market will very often find a reversal. So on this GBP, JPY, British pound, Japanese yen, 4 hourly chart, so I'm going to grab that along there. You see the market went up, and look where it made the high. It made the high right at the maximum level. By the way, one request we've said to TradingView is it would be lovely if we could select a box and then we could grab and drag the box like this. I mean, that would be very, very nice if we could do that. So I wonder if TradingView will add that into a future version of PineScript for us. If they do, well, that'll be quite nice, but maybe at some point in the future. So anyway, do you see how the market went up to the maximum DP level here? So if we now come down to the time frame we're looking at, which is a 1 hourly chart, you see how it looks a bit different now. In other words, we've had a reversal off a DP resistance. So therefore, the large U trend is now deemed to be down. So if you're an advanced trader, you could then look to consider this W3 or wave 3 trade setup because it's coming off the maximum DP. This is where it gets slightly confusing if you're a standard trader. So if you're a sort of a new to MTPredictor, you probably wouldn't want to do this because you can see our MTP trend color is blue. And it's blue because it's gone beyond the typical area. So that's why I'm saying this is only a kind of trade setup for the more experienced users among you. This is what you can do once you get to use MTPredictor more, is you can be less reliant on our MTP trend color and more reliant on using your DPs. In other words, the chart pattern. You look at the actual what the chart's telling you and not just this color-coded indicator. I mean, this is good, but you can do better than just this once you become more experienced. So if the person who sent this one in, that was high time frame resistance, large U trend was down. That's why we wouldn't be looking at a buy setup there. We'd be looking at sell setup. So this could be one you could consider because it's coming off higher time frame maximum DP resistance. Down into the first target there, which was a nice 6.6 hour profit. Could you have got a little bit more out of this? Well, if we go back to the 4 hourly chart, one thing I've said in the past, isn't it? If you remember, for you guys who come into all these webinars, is if you get a reversal off the maximum DP level rather than typical, then the market will very often go to the maximum in the opposite direction. So this is the last swing into the high here. The right mouse click off this pivot, place the DP on. So what you'll be looking to use is you'll be looking to use the maximum level here, not the typical, for an area of where support may come in. Now it's actually gone beyond it, but at the time, this is what you'd be looking for. So if you go down to the 1 hourly chart, rather than having just at the typical wave 3 WPT with a 6.6 hour profit, you could look to come down here to the maximum and perhaps try and increase that up to about 11R. So it's a good way to try and increase your profit a bit more. This is where MTPredictor is so much more than just a system that you just follow with wiggly lines. In other words, it's so much more than just saying, okay, there's a setup, here's our MTP trend color, there's your target, and that's it. There's so many people that never ever seem to be able to take MTPredictor to the much higher levels that it's capable of, because they never come into these training webinars to really understand what you can do with the software once you get an understanding of using the levels and the chart patterns to then do your analysis from. Yeah, I just find it quite sad that you get so many people who never even bother to try and get the most out of the software, particularly when it's capable of getting lovely profits that are large in relation to the initial risks like this. So to answer the person's question on this is, if you're an experienced user and you're happy coming off the maximum DP level there, yes, this would be a good one to take, even though it's against our blue MTP trend. There was a very similar situation with crude. This is the June contract of crude. We came up here to a TS4 sell. This was the last swing into the low. It's sort of like a double bottomish there. So if I right mouse click do DP, you see how we had exactly the same thing where we came off the maximum DP there. So the maximum DP caught the high there beautifully. And if I then go down to the 1 hourly chart, there was a nice sell setup at that maximum DP level. So this would be a good one to consider. But here you can see it's only just a small profit, only 3.5R profit. But as I said before, if you go out to the higher time frame, because this reversed off the maximum, you could very easily look at the maximum from the last swing to the high. So take that DP from there, you'd then be looking to the maximum level, which is in around here, not the typical, the maximum, because that's where it reversed off previously. It reversed off the maximum. It tends to go to the maximum in the opposite direction. So again, when you come down into the 1 hourly chart, rather than just coming out at that level, you could perhaps look to come down to this level to increase your profit up to near a 10R. There's also an opportunity to pyramid on this TS3 sell. Again, that's against the blue MTP trend color, but because we're coming off the maximum DP there, this could be one to consider as well. Now, this is actually suggesting the market's going to go even further, but we'll have to wait and see. Even if you would decide to just come out at that DP level, that would be a little bit extra profit for you as well. So hopefully that's an example of how to use the maximum DP for your more experience. This is just the more experienced guys among you who've been using MTPredictor for a while and are happy using chart pattern rather than just our MTP trend color. Again, you can see you can take MTPredictor to much higher levels. Let's go and have a look at the ES from yesterday, because again, this is probably quite an advanced webinar that we're looking at today, because this is again is another example of perhaps how you can push the analysis a bit further than you'd want to if you're a bit more of an experience with MTPredictor. This is a regular trading session hour chart. This is so 9:30 to 16:15 New York time. There was a couple of buy setups at the bottom here with our MTP trend going to grey. The first one was here, and this was actually stopped out. You see that? That would have been a -1R loss. Losses can and will and do unfold. It doesn't matter what trading approach you take, there always will be losing trades. It then came in and gave a second bite at the cherry, and this one actually went quite nicely up to the typical wave 3 WPT, where a profit of just over 7.5 times the initial risk was available. But if you go to the higher time frame, which would be the 15-minute chart, there was no swings in here at all, were there? There was no swings at all. So would it be a good one to consider? Well, if you're more experienced, if you come down to the 3-minute chart, why was that MTP trend color turning when there's only one big swing on the higher time frame? Well, it's because we use the MTP trend color using the major swings on the current chart. So if I go to pivots and I place our major swings on here, can you see what we had? If I zoom out a bit, is there's the big swing down there, but you see how the chart actually, the blue lines here, it did actually make a major pivot swing here. And if I right mouse click on this bottom and do DP, can you see how the DP came in at the low? And you see how it said it was a major? In other words, that was actually showing you that that DP was coming off a major pivot. So this is one of those circumstances where you can get a major swing on the current time frame, but that doesn't show on the higher time frame, and that's just a quirk of the way the maths works out, that even though our swings tend to be 5 time periods apart, so if you've got a chart time frame between 3 and 5 time frames, they're approximately the same. This is one of those circumstances where you don't get the higher time frame support, but it's actually showing you a major DP level on the current chart. So this is one of those circumstances, again, if you're an aggressive trader with MTPredictor and you're more experienced, what you may want to do is consider these kind of trades that come off major DPs, but because there's no support off the 15-minute DP, then be a lot more aggressive with your stop loss. So in other words, on a trade setup like this, as soon as you get to the 100% initial risk level, then bring your stop to break even. You do that because you know you're less than ideal. You know that because you're pushing the boundary a little bit more than you should do, and again, that's why I say this is only for the more experienced users among you, then you should be more aggressive with your stop loss, because obviously if you're being more aggressive, there's a higher chance of you actually getting stopped out. But it does allow you to get into trades that probably the less experienced MTPredictor users probably wouldn't consider. So that was, again, another question from another user yesterday, is that why was the MTP trend color gray when there was no support on the 15-minute DP? And that's why. It's because when you get a swing like this, sometimes, if I clear everything off, you can get the major pivots calculating on the current time frame where there's no swing on the intermediate pivots on the higher time frame. So there's quite a lot going on there for the more experienced users among you. So have we got any questions on what we've talked about so far? And indeed, any questions on anything that I've talked about, or open it up to everyone for questions now. So please feel free to ask whatever you'd like. And obviously, if I bring NinjaTrader up, you get exactly the same kind of setups and analysis on NinjaTrader as well. So are there any questions on what I've talked about so far? Well, it seems that everyone's actually quite happy on everything, which is great, really. Yeah, so anyway, so the big thing for today was having a look at our new TradingView scripts and actually show how you can move the selection of the DPs and the analysis around by just grabbing and dragging to the different pivots, and that allows you then to place either your Elliott wave analysis on different pivots like this, really easy just to grab and drag, or whether you want to move the DPs or place your trade setup analysis on. Just makes things a lot easier using the TradingView scripts. Again, when we're ready to release these, I'll send everyone who's using TradingView an email telling them they've been released and what to do. But what will happen is you'll get an alert in one of your boxes on the right-hand side here to say that there's new scripts have been released and you're entitled to use them. And what you'll just do is just take the old script off. So just delete the old script by clicking on the remove, and then place the new one on. And I'll obviously want to do help videos on exactly how to use these before I do the releasing. So you're ready to see that there. Oh, sorry, I missed a few questions here. Yeah, it's best to use the DPs off the major pivots, Sylvian. That's what I tend to do. So as in this example, well, there is the DP off the minor, intermediate, or so the intermediate wave 4 pivot, but there's off the major ones. Yes, you can use this in the Indian market. We have a number of customers using our TradingView scripts on the Indian markets, or you can use our NinjaTrader 8 add-ons. NinjaTrader 8 have got a couple of good data feeds that can be used with the Indian market. So you can use our NinjaTrader add-ons as well if you want. Yes, the major is available for the major DP is available for TradingView as well. So if I go into the options here for TradingView, see zones, it says typical. You can do maximum only, typical, or you can do both. So if I do both on that one, there it is. There's the maximum DP there as well. So you can do that. There isn't any firm date for the release of our TradingView scripts, again, because our programmer is still doing a bit more work on adding the zones for the analysis. He's doing that. So obviously, I want him to get that finished, tested, and debugged first. I then want to get it here to have a look to test as well. We also need to have an answer on something from TradingView as well, because we're using libraries now to place our common code in to make the scripts a lot more reliable and a lot quicker. That's another thing you'll see is that they're a lot quicker and far more reliable. You shouldn't get anywhere near as many timeouts or errors with the scripts, with these new scripts. But we need to work out exactly how we're going to publish these, because there's some questions on using libraries. So there's a few things we've got to sort out here first. But just want to let you know we're working on it, and we're making good progress as well. So as soon as we have anything, I'll let you all know, and obviously in these webinars I'll let you know as well. But I'm looking forward to getting them out to you guys as quickly as possible, because for the TradingView people, they are a significant improvement on what we had before. So it's great that TradingView are improving their Pine script as time goes on, and making things new things available for us that we can use to create better tools for you to do better and easier analysis. Right, so I think we've covered everything for today. So thank you very much for everyone for coming in, and hopefully you've enjoyed today's webinar. So again, it's been having a look at our new TradingView scripts, and also been having a look at some questions from some of you guys who've been sending some questions in, which has basically resulted in a bit more advanced analysis, in particular advanced analysis in and around using the maximum DP level and going against our MTP trend color to try and cover some more experienced tools. So I hope you've all enjoyed that. One other last question is, I was asked about any kind of market analyzer tool for TradingView. I'm afraid TradingView hasn't got that capability. It's really quite frustrating, isn't it, that TradingView can't allow us to place our scripts into a market analyzer of sorts, or a scanner to be able to scan them all easily. And when we do have alerts, so what you can do is you can set up an alert for our MTP analysis. So you can place this on here. You see that there? If you do analysis, it will then, when there's a new trade set up, it will then notify you for that for this particular market once you've set an alert up. So what you can do is, for you guys who've been using it, you can set up alerts. I haven't got many. Yeah, there's a couple of old ones I had in there, but you can set up alerts for different markets and different time frames. So that allows you to use a scanner of sorts, but it's not quite as good as being able to, like in NinjaTrader, where you can just follow as many markets and time frames as you want in their market analyzer. If I bring NinjaTrader up, so you can have their market analyzer here, so you can place your different time frames and your different markets. This is NinjaTrader. This is not TradingView. This is the NinjaTrader one. So that's a lot easier to follow lots of markets and lots of time frames. But let's say TradingView has got the alerts, so you can do that if you wish to follow those as well. But yeah, it's a pity that TradingView doesn't have an easy market analyzer or scanner to use. Again, perhaps sometime in the future they'll do that, and if they do, we'll then make use of it. So thank you for coming in, for everybody. So have a good trading week, and we'll be back we'll be back to do it all again next week. Okay, yes. If you want to shift to NinjaTrader from TradingView, then do drop us an email and we can sort that out for you. Right, so have a good trading week, everyone, and we'll be back to do it all again next week.